Hi everyone, welcome. I'm joining you from sunny England today, specifically London. My name's Dana Griffith and I have been a global trainer for over a decade. I'm also the mother of two little girls. And for the past 2.5 years, I have been helping myself and other mothers who are struggling with becoming a new mom and struggling to find themselves again. I think that's one of the main things that I struggled with when I first had my two daughters. I was so sure of who I was before then. I had a good 30 odd years. I had a decent career. And then I found it difficult. I suddenly felt lost as soon as I had the girls. I was moving into a completely new phase of my life and I had no idea about what I was doing. There was so much information out there to help me deal with the baby, how to get the baby to sleep and all those kind of things, but there was nothing there that was specifically helping me. So I decided to read as many blogs as I could. I got lots of books. I discovered podcasts. And then I came up with lots of little tips and tricks that I knew worked for me. And bit by bit, as time went on, other new mums who I'd met along the way started asking me, how do you organise your meal plans for the week? How is it that you don't necessarily always look as stressed? It wasn't that I wasn't stressed, it was because bit by bit I'd actually decided that I was going to take control and actually learn how to do some of these things. So fast forward in a couple of years, I now have my relationships and friends and also dealing with myself. One of the main things that I learned was, firstly, I had to start putting myself first. So how you can avoid losing those friends that you had before you had the baby, especially the ones that don't yet have children. It's for some people it's hard for them to kind of understand exactly where you are and the changes that have happened to you. But also it's good for you to understand that things for them are also moving along as well. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you're joining on the rebroadcast, please feel free to share this with somebody, especially a new mum who probably needs a little bit of a pick-me-up. So if you are an iPhone user, let me get this right. I'm not sure if I'm scrolling the right way, but if you're an iPhone user, then you scroll from left to right and then you can click on my name to follow me. Or if you're an Android user, you can, what's it called? Scroll up, scroll up from the bottom to contact me. Now, please note that I am going to be kind of diverting my eyes a little bit because I have written notes. So I want to make sure that I don't miss out on anything that's about to drop. So give me 2 seconds. Right then, so it doesn't look like there's anybody joining right now, so I'll just crack on and not waste anyone's time. So the first thing is looking at the fact that even though your life has changed, their lives are also continuing as well. So the first thing is life doesn't necessarily stop just because you've had a baby. Now that was something that I think in theory that I understood, but I was so consumed with I've got to deal with the kids, I've got to deal with the baby, I haven't had any sleep, and it was all about me, rather than actually thinking, you know what, one of my friends, got a new job, and that was a major thing for her because, she'd looked for a job for a very, very long time, and also the fact that life was moving in different directions for them, and it wasn't necessarily all about just having a baby. I think one of the second things is even when I did have those conversations with those friends, I found that I wasn't concentrating. I wasn't fully present. I wasn't actually in the moment. So I'd grab a few seconds. So, the phone would ring, someone would talk to me and I'd be like, yep. In the meantime, I was breastfeeding or I was trying to make a coffee or I was doing something. So even though I was talking to people, I wasn't necessarily always present. And anyone knows that, you know, even when my little ones aren't listening to me, when my mum, that's another scope, when my mum isn't listening to me, it really frustrates me and gets me upset. So I can only imagine what my friends had gone through, you know, after I'd had my children. The other thing was, because I couldn't spend that quality time with people, I've also found that it was extremely difficult to get into any deep kind of conversations. So over the years, the conversations were kind of like, hi, how are you? How's it going? How are the kids? How's work? Da, 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 da. And you never actually get to understand, you know, the deep things that you would have shared with a friend over maybe a dinner, a glass of wine, a 2-hour conversation after you're watching something together. So I missed out on all of that. So then bit by bit, your friends have moved on, but you kind of don't necessarily understand them or even know them as much anymore. But after reading a book from a guy called Daniel Levitin, and I hope I'm pronouncing it properly, he wrote a book called The Organized Mind, which is absolutely brilliant. And what he was saying is you kind of need to give yourselves triggers that you can actually remember certain parts of the conversation. And he also came up with some brilliant tools that you can use. So we'll cover those today. The first thing is, the next time you talk to a friend, ask about them first. They're bound to ask you about the baby, and I'm sure you want to kind of say, oh, you know what, yeah, I've been breastfeeding, it's not working, they're still not sleeping through the night, I've just found out that they're lactose intolerant and all those kind of things. But even though you want to do all of those things, don't. Ask about them, find out about them, find out what's going on in their lives. And then I think my second thing is always, if you're speaking to them and you can't give them your full attention, just say to them, look, can we talk in 2 hours? Can we talk when the little one's down for a nap or something like that? So just make sure actually you are completely in that conversation and there aren't any distractions. Now, I know, having 2 girls, that that's not necessarily always possible. But if you can say to someone, actually, you know what, I can talk to you now, but I've only got so many minutes. There's nothing worse than talking to somebody and then suddenly saying, oh, actually, you know what, I've got to go. So you're cutting that person off and it's an awful feeling. One of my really good friends said to me, one of the worst things that she felt was that I kind of was using her, because I would talk to her and then suddenly I'd get busy and say, oh, I had to go, which was really eye-opening for me, because I wasn't doing that. It was just that I was busy and I wanted to make sure that I was still catching up, but I wasn't catching up with her in the right way. I wasn't giving her that quality time that I probably should have been doing. So just to recap on that first section then, the next time you talk to them, make sure that you're fully present, ask about them, and also make sure that you be honest about exactly how much time that you've got. The second point that I think was absolutely brilliant, and I did this the other day when I went for a walk in the park, is to make a note of your conversation. I met a really nice lady in the park. Her name was June. She lives not very far from me. She's just moved into the area. And I thought, this is someone I'm going to exchange details with, but I know that probably in a few months I'll see her on the street and go, oh, I know you from somewhere. So I wanted to make sure that that interaction was useful. So what I did, as soon as we swapped numbers, I literally typed in the notes section, June, lives on Fern Road, new to the area, has a son. So the next time I see her or the next time she calls, I can quickly flip through my phone and go, yeah. Relating it back to your friends, I think what's really helpful is for you to remember their birthday, remember, whether they're going for a job interview, remember who their newest partner is, remembering that, maybe their parents are going to the hospital on a particular day. All of these things are important. They were important before and they're still important now, just because you're so busy. But you can write them down. You can write down the important things. which brings me to my final point, which is setting up a reminder. If somebody's mentioned a particular date, if you set up a reminder and say, okay, right, yeah, I've got to call this person because their mum's going into the hospital, they're starting a new job, they're doing all of these things. And even if you can't necessarily get hold of them straight away, I've found that, and I'm guilty of this, so I'll be honest, I have friends have called me, or I've called them back, and I've been like, okay, I'm so busy and I'm so tired, please go through to voicemail, please go through to voicemail. And actually, it hasn't gone through to voicemail, so then I end up having a quick kind of meaningless conversation with them. So to kind of avoid all of that, just set some time to call that person. Again, make sure you're avoiding those distractions, and ask about them. And then don't just ask that one question, but probe a little bit further. Ask how it went, ask how they felt. So the problem is now, as a new parent, is that your conversations and your time is so valuable now that everything has to be kind of condensed. So you don't necessarily have all that time that you had before, where you can go, yeah, how are you? How's the cat? How's the dog? Oh, I did this the other day. It was raining. Oh my gosh, I got soggy wet. My feet got wet, things like that. There's no necessarily time for those things. So you ask the important questions that mean the most first. Now, with one of my really good friends, as soon as I get to speak to her, I'm like, hi, how is everything? And then the first thing I say is, really? Is it really okay? If I hear a pause or anything like that, I get to that thing straight away. We can always talk about her dog, or we can talk about her shopping and all those kind of things a lot later. But it's really, really important just to kind of get to those gritty type things straight away. So they're my tips. Always make sure that you kind of call them. And if you can't always call them as often as you'd like, make sure that you at least call them at those pivotal moments within their lives where it makes a difference. Make time for them if you can. Make sure there's no distractions, even though I know that's not always possible. And then also take notes. Put them wherever you can. I like to keep mine within the notes field. On contacts, most phone operating systems allow you to add notes to a contact now, which is really, really useful. So they're all of my tips for now. I'm going to be publishing a lot more. My website, which is dgbootcamp.com, is under construction at the moment, so if you go there, there isn't that much, but please feel free to follow me at dgbcamp. On here, as I said, you can swipe up or to the left to connect with me, and I'd really, really like to hear from you. I think that's it. I think that's me. Thank you very, very much for your time. I really, really appreciate it, and I shall see you soon. Take care.